Okay, my other videos I've tried to make about this ended up being really long, so I'm going to try and do this quick. I did a bunch of work tonight and didn't record along the way. Sorry for that. So what I did, in the last episode, I think I had all this welded up. The header's all welded up. I've got the oxygen sensor in the header now. That's new. This is tapped out to 1/8 inch NPT. This plate on the bottom for the oil drain is tapped out to 1/4 inch NPT because you want it big to get oil away from there because you don't want pressure building in here. So actually, if I get oil in and out of here, so I need a tank, some lines, and a pump, I could run this, which is what I want to do because I want to make sure everything's going to work before I put the forced air to the engine. So lubricate it, drive around, make sure the turbo's working. The air will just blow out of here because I obviously don't have this charged air pipe connected yet. I've got water cooling provision in here and it's really close. Like, I have to make sure the flat spot of these fittings was in the right spot, otherwise I couldn't get these in. You couldn't even use a hex head fastener in here because it had hit. And these two, when the points are toward each other, are only, what was it, 5/1000ths of an inch or 0.127 millimeters apart. I'll throw a picture of that up at the end of the video if I still have it. Also, I don't have to use water cooling. It's just something I might do. So if I don't do it, I can pull these two out and put plugs in there and use this as a dust cap, and then I've always got it in the future if I need it. The threads for these don't actually fit into the water jacket ports on the turbo. So I cut them down and then I used a file to make the whole back of this plate nice and flat. To show you what you mean, I drew, show you what I mean, I drew a little picture. So the circle is that hose barb and then this rectangle is the port on the turbo. So it overlaps it and water will just flow through that blackened part there. So that's what I meant by, like, I had to have the whole thing flat, and then when I silicone around it or whatever, that'll make the water go in and out. Just so I remember if I have to refer to my own videos at some point, water in, water out. I think that's the right way for, well, this is a little bit different. Bigger turbos will have water in on one side and water out on the other. And you usually want it clocked so it's going across it. And I can't remember if cold is supposed to go in the top or out the top. Anyway, it doesn't matter. This turbo is different. I'm worrying about problems that don't exist. So that's plate, fitting. NPT fittings are super easy for me to get. I can get adapters to go from NPT to AN if I want to use automotive type fasteners. I could not get the correct thread for this oil feed. I think it was machined wrong, but it doesn't matter. I know what it is now. Over here, this is that same adapter I had built, but I couldn't find the right filter. So I just took a piece of header pipe and ovaled it a little bit, and it fit on there really nice. And if you remember, this stainless section here is pinched to clear the mounting bolts. And again, just a section of header pipe, and I've got an actual name brand uni filter that's got an angled head on it, which is nice because I haven't decided which way I want it yet, but I can put it this way and it clears my leg, or I can rotate it this way and it's out of the way even farther back by the engine and it still clears my leg. So one of those two ways, but it's, it's got the spring inside. It's a dual foam element filter. I just got to oil it once I'm ready to run everything. This piece I had done before, but it's just on here now so I could kind of visualize where I want it to go. I'm going to cut it off here somewhere and put a silicone 90 on it. You have to have a flexible joint somewhere in here. Exhaust pipes heating up and expanding, contracting, that sort of thing. There's going to be some movement. The engine vibrates. So silicone joiner here, and then I'll run it over top of the air filter along here through this panel for sure, And then if I take the factory airbox out, it'll just go into the throttle body. And if I leave the factory airbox in, I think I forgot to mention previously, I'm gonna have to take the snorkel out and plug that. And then there's 2 ports here and 2 ports there that'll have to plug. If I use the factory airbox as a plenum to take some of the pulses of air out. And then if I don't use the airbox, it'll just go through here and then hook around and go into the throttle body. Like I said, it's just on there for now, just so I could kind of see everything together. And what I need to do now is get oil into and out of the turbo, and then I can run it. Because I'll have oil in it and I've got the exhaust side done, I can drive it. It just won't be building boost to the engine. It'll build boost, but it'll just blow all the air out of here into atmosphere again. But I can drive it around and make sure it's gonna run right and it's tuned. The settings I've got on my Dobeck Performance AFR Plus EFI controller are basically what they were for the big bore kit. They work really good for the stock engine too, actually. So the first setting here is just open loop mode. So I'll explain that in a minute. Open loop mode, I'm not adding or subtracting any fuel. Cruise or light load, I've got it 13.5 to 1, and then the heavy load, I've got it 12.4 to 1. So that second and third mode, the light and heavy load modes, are closed loop, which means it uses the oxygen sensor to change the map. Real quickly, open loop, it's not using the sensor to change the map, but it is using the brain under the seat to change the map. So when this thing's idling and it's in open loop mode, the sensor is not working yet because it's not warmed up. So it'll take the stock ECU, it'll take the signals it's sending to the engine and go, okay, this is a signal that we're getting, and then I'm not adding or subtracting anything, so it'll send that right to the ECU. But if I went -5 or +5 on open loop mode, it would add or subtract that much fuel. So with this system, if I had it at +5, open loop mode, oxygen sensor not involved, open loop mode, it'd go, the stock computer says this, we're going to add 5% fuel signal and then send that to the injector. So that's how open loop mode on this tuner works. Closed loop mode, once that oxygen sensor is up to temp, warmed up and working, it'll go, oh, the engine's running at, let's just say 14.5, and it knows that because the sensor's telling it that, and it'll go, we need to add more fuel because we're supposed to be at 13.5. So it'll take that signal the ECU's giving it and go, we need to add whatever 15% more fuel, and then it sends that to the injector. And then when that sensor reads the exhaust coming out, it'll go, okay, less fuel, more fuel, and adjust it. The light and heavy load modes work the same, they just have different targets. So that's how my controller works, because it's using an oxygen sensor. If you're just using an EJK, electronic jet kit, it's basically open loop mode the whole time. You're just adding a percentage or subtracting a percentage for different throttle positions effectively. So it'll work, it's just not as accurate, and it won't self-tune like this system will. So that's how I'm taking care of fuel. That's how everything's set up. I get oil in and out. We're gonna run it, so I need a tank and a pump. I've got a pump, but it's 2.5 amps no load, 6 amps full load. I don't know if this can handle that kind of power output. I do have LED lights, so that saves a little. I'm not running any heated gear or anything, but you know, this takes power. My voltmeter takes power, my GPS takes power. Do I not use running lights in the front to try and save a couple of watts? We'll see. If my big pump doesn't work, I'll find a solution, probably like a $9 low PSI fuel pump, which probably won't live long because oil gets hot, but it'd be better than nothing, and at $9 a pop, whatever, they're easy to switch out. They're 2 wires and 2 hoses. So that's what I'm going to do next. That's a bigger project, and I got to find somewhere to mount it. It might go on the skid plate here. There might be a tank here or something, or that might be where the pump's at, and then I pump it up to a tank back there, and then it drains down. I don't know yet. That's going to be a way bigger challenge than placing this was. So that's what's going to happen in the next episode. I'm already at 11 minutes. I tried to talk fast. I'm sorry. Not really. See you later.